Hey, it's Tess. I would say good morning, but we're into afternoon already. I wanted to come on today and say, stay curious with Tess. And day 3 today, I'm going to talk about what are guarantees. What is actually guaranteed? When you hear that word guarantee, it comes up a lot. And I wanted to kind of define, understand, and give you tools so that you can make the best decisions when you're hearing this word guaranteed. And the reason is that I think that better definitions lead to better financial decisions. Today's question is, what is actually guaranteed? Who is making the promise? Is it written into a contract? Is it backed by a company? Are there conditions? Or is it simply someone's opinion? Those are really all very different things. And that's why I encourage people to ask more questions when they hear the word guaranteed. So the first thing I want to say kind of out of the gate is a guarantee is simply a contractual promise, and it's subject to the terms of the contract. So I'll say that again. A guarantee is simply a contractual promise, and it's a promise that's subject to the terms of the contract that you'll find it in. So instead of asking, is it guaranteed? There's a few questions we want to think about when we're looking at the idea of guarantees. And the 3 questions are, what is guaranteed? Who is making the promise? And where is it written? I find that there's a lot of confusion, and we talk about guarantees, and there are definitely guarantees in products that we sell. But I think if we all start to understand more what this means, one, it will give more confidence to some of the things that we're purchasing, and in other arenas, it'll help us to ask the questions that will help us to alleviate some of the noise that maybe isn't putting us in the right direction. So I'm going to give you a few examples of guarantees just to have talking points and to kind of expand upon what I'm talking about with this word guaranteed. And the first thing I'm going to talk about is the word guaranteed income. Guaranteed income means a contractual promise to pay income according to the terms of the contract. And I want to give an example, like some annuities provide guaranteed lifetime income if you elect that option and the contract requirements are met. So that's one of the tools that I'm involved with now is the lifetime income annuities, because as a person that did not have a pension in my lifetime, or in the jobs that I worked at, they didn't have pensions, I like the idea of a lifetime income. I love infinite banking concept because it provides a living financial benefit. It also provides a death benefit if I'm called home too soon, but I really love the annuities and the fact that it provides an income if you live too long. But again, understanding guaranteed incomes and the terms of the contract that it's written into is going to be very important. So the guarantee isn't that you'll become wealthy. The guarantee is about the income the contract promises to pay according to the terms written in the contract. So that's guaranteed income. Well, guarantees come in other areas in this finance world. So I want to kind of point out some of the different areas that will come together so that you can think about this when you're hearing that word guaranteed and ask yourself, what is it guaranteeing and who's making these guarantees? So the next area is guaranteed interest. And guaranteed interest means a contract promises to pay a minimum interest rate or a stated rate for a specified period. For example, there are annuities out there that will guarantee a stated interest rate for a defined period. Like I know in the Christnaga world, we'll talk about MIGAs, and there's 3-year, 5-year, 7-year, and they'll guarantee an interest rate for that period of time. So the guarantee comes from the contract. It's not coming from somewhere else. The contract will specifically tell you what the guaranteed interest rate is, what the period of time is, so that you know the terms of what you're agreeing to. And so we've talked about 2 different types of guarantees now. Guaranteed income, guaranteed interest. Well, how about another one? Guaranteed returns. This is where we really kind of need to be careful with our words a little bit. The phrase guaranteed return is often used casually, but it really can mean different things. The better question is, what return is actually guaranteed? For example, I'll give you a few examples here. A whole life policy includes guaranteed cash value growth according to the policy guarantees. So you get a certain amount of guaranteed interest or a guaranteed return on that contract. So that is one form of a guaranteed return. A fixed annuity, and I kind of mentioned it above, will guarantee a certain interest rate for a specified period of time. And a guaranteed index annuity generally protects the contract value from direct market losses due to index performance, while interest credited is linked to the performance of a market index and is subject to contracts participation rates, caps, spreads, and other provisions. I've talked about that in one of my previous talks. But it's the idea that there's guarantees, but those guarantees have a little bit different nuances to it based on what contract it's for and what product it's connected to. So I want you to notice that the guarantees are different because the products are designed for different purposes. And understanding that will help you better as you make financial decisions for your future. One last guarantee. So I've talked about guaranteed income. I've talked about guaranteed interest. I've talked about guaranteed returns. There's also something called the guaranteed death benefit. And I'm sure there are other guarantees out there. These are just 4 that I wanted to talk about to kind of bring this to light. But guaranteed death benefit, it's another example of a guarantee. And a properly structured whole life policy includes a contractual death benefit that is guaranteed as long as the policy requirements are met. This guarantee exists because the policy is an insurance contract and it's a permanent contract. So as long as you've met all the contract requirements, the day that you're called home, your beneficiary will receive a guaranteed death benefit on a permanent life insurance policy. Now there are other products out there that may have an appearance of guaranteed benefits or guaranteed death benefits, but you really want to dig into it because are they actually guaranteed? And what does the contract say? And look into the future to see where it's going to stand someday, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years from now. So I kind of wanted to bring up this idea, and this kind of came to me, like I know I mentioned, I was on AMA about a week ago, and I said something that had a meaning to me based on my history that I needed to change the language because the word I used is applied to a particular product. So I had to kind of clean up something a little bit. And it made me think about there's going to be other areas that this appears in my life and in the lives of everyone. And I think that's where confusion comes in. And I've often noticed confusion inside the English language. And I've mentioned this previously, but I studied English as a tutor. I studied Orton Gillingham, which is a specific method of teaching. It's called a multisensory, sequential, repetitive, step-by-step approach to learning. But it tries to teach you to break things down, look for patterns. Is this something that got pulled in from another language? That'll give you clues on pronunciation. Are the influences from that country that might impact the meaning of the word? So it gave me this idea that, hey, since I know about that, and I spent many years doing that when I tutored, why don't I do that from the finance side? Do the exact same thing, but apply it to this world that I have been in my entire career, but I didn't look at it from the same eyes that I did then. So kind of in bringing this together, I was hoping that you would stop at the word guaranteed and then ask yourself a couple of questions. What is guaranteed? Who is making that promise? And where is it written? Because if you understand these 3 questions, you'll make better financial decisions. Because remember, this idea of staying curious with Tess is that I want us to define things, to understand them, and then to make decisions based on that definition and the understanding. And what I want to tell you also is that when you hear the word guaranteed this week, I want you to ask yourself, what exactly is guaranteed and who's making that promise? And just one last time, if you're looking at that word guaranteed, understand it a little bit more. When you hear that word this week, what is guaranteed and who's making that promise? And then what I want you to remember is, until next time, stay curious, keep learning, and take control of your financial future. And thank you for joining me, and I'll see you tomorrow.